So let's get started with lesson 3, ISO IEC 27002. The purpose of today's lesson is to provide you with an understanding of what ISO IEC 27002 standard actually contains and how it actually affects information security. Okay, it's a big standard in a sense that it's well known, it's popular, a lot of companies use it, so I want you to learn what that is. The second one is not just to be all bogged down by one single standard. I want to introduce to you ISECA Principle of Information Security Practice. This one is more popular, I wouldn't say more, this one is actually popular in the US and as compared to the ISO. The ISO, it's like an international standard, right? So I'm going to introduce to you the 12 principles of information security practice. You will see some similarity there, and try to appreciate the impact on information protection that are championed by the ISECA Principle of Information Security Practice. So you got kind of more than one single view of information security. They're not that different, by the way. The third one, not to miss any other specific industry standard, is that I'll round up with some of the other standards on things that may be related to your specific industry. Either you're in healthcare, you're in banking, you're in finance. So we talk about PCI, we talk a little about personal health information, and then we talk a little bit about privacy and stuff like that. Just so that you know there are other things that are closely related to information security. Okay, let's get started. So roughly this is the agenda, just so that you know what comes after what. It's not very important that you know that, but let's get started with the ISO. So I just felt that I wanted to give you a copy of the cover of the ISO standard for 27002. It may have changed since then. This is an older one, but the point is that it is very official. It's not colorful. It's just business-like, right? But it gets the point across. So let's explain what the acronym ISO and IEC stands for. They are two distinct organizations. In this case, they join hands together to establish these standards. So some of you may already be familiar with ISO in some way. It stands for International Organization for Standardization. It was set up back in 1974. And it's currently located out of Geneva, Switzerland. You may appreciate that. Switzerland is kind of long been regarded as an independent country. Even though it's kind of in the middle of Europe, it doesn't use euro. It uses Swiss franc. So it's kind of in the middle of that, but it's not part of Europe. They try to kind of project an independence image. And you probably learn of these through much movies about the Swiss bank. The bank in Switzerland is actually famous for criminals and people that wanted to not being caught for their money, and so on, and then have an account there and so on. So I'm not gonna talk too much about that. But the purpose of ISO is that to develop standards that support and facilitate international trade. I'll give you an example. So if we are in Canada and we want to do a business with a small country in East Europe or something like that, or maybe Africa, and we are not sure what kind of rule of law or what kind of business practice they have, and so we might feel uncomfortable if we are sharing sensitive information, proprietary information, and so on with them. But if they say they are compliant or certified for ISO standards, then we kind of get an idea that, oh, okay, so if they are certified for ISO, then we had some sort of a comfort, hopefully, that they meet certain standards that the whole international community respected. So that's the idea. It's not perfect, but that's the idea. So similarly, there is something called IEC, stands for International Electrotechnical Commission, which established much earlier, 1906. It's also stationed out of Geneva. The purpose is similar. It's develop standards, but it's for all the electro technologies. So as you can imagine, 1906, so these are talking about electrical devices, electronic devices, which include computers, include information technology, network devices, cell phones, and so on. So that it's still, going strong, electro technology. And so that's why they join hands to develop these ISO information security standard. Both of these two organizations are supported by national member bodies. So if you are part of the membership, which is all the countries in the in the United Nations, recognized by the United Nations, can be part of the member bodies. And if you are the member bodies, then you can participate. Okay, you can participate in reviewing the standard, developing the standard, and help promote the standard. So it's like any other international bodies. If you are anything understandable, if you have any exposure on standards, then you understand standard. International standards are things that are moving very slowly because you have to get agreement in all of the member countries, at least the majority of them. So if you had over 200 countries that participated, it will be very interesting to get something through if that something is controversial, and so on. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. The ISO and IES actually developed something called joint technical committees for development of things that they both find interest in. So let's talk about the purpose of 27002. Okay, the standard for ISO IEC 27002 is that this is regarded as a code of practice for information security management. And the key of these is twofold. First, this is a practical standard. So it is not a theoretical standard, and it's not for academic exercise discussions. So things that are mentioned in ISO 27002, it's able to be implemented in a business world. All right? And the purpose of that is also for management of securities. So this is not like we're promoting new technology, innovations, technology in the forefront and whatnot. It's more about practically implement information security standards so you can manage information security in a business enterprise or organizations. So that I find very useful in understanding and appreciating the standard that we will talk about today. Okay, it is supposedly a generic information security management standard. What do you mean? What do I mean by generic? Okay, what I mean is that it is not industry specific. So either you are in healthcare, you're in banking, you are in government or non-government, it will still be applicable to you. Okay. Now again, the kind of downside of that is it could be not specific enough for your industry. Okay, so if you're in banking, you're looking for some specifics about payment card standards and something, you cannot get it here. But then whether you are in banking, you're in finance, you're in insurance, you're in healthcare, you will find this information security practice useful in your organization. It will be applicable in your organization. So that's the good thing. All right. And later on, I'll tell you a little bit more about there are so many other standards within the 27,000 family for your specific industry or for your specific interest in the technology, like cloud, something like that. Okay. So the third point is that it is used by any organization, company, or enterprise to establish a comprehensive information security management program. Okay. In the last lesson, we talked about the information security and risk framework. So we kind of talk a little bit about the program. Not exactly the same thing. The framework is much higher level. The program is what actually the rubber hits the ground. So it's things that company can actually implement and can actually point to. So this is our security program. This includes policy, procedure, standard, training program, and so on and whatnot. Okay. And so the idea is that the standards would help any company that want to develop a practical information security management program and also use that to improve its current information security practice. Okay, sometimes we refer to as the information security posture. Okay, and also I think one of the key things a lot of company does is that the ISO 27002 is the standards, the requirements the company can use to help them certify for ISO 27001 if that's what they want. Okay, remember I talked about doing business internationally with countries that you may not know. Same thing, right? So people may not understand the Canadian business practice a lot. So by certifying your company as ISO 27001, similar to the ISO 9001, I don't know how many of you actually know that. It's like quality assurance and so on, similar. So other company that doesn't know you or your country will know that at least they have certain comfort level that you reach that certification. So that's what 27002 can provide, is the guideline for companies that want to be certified for 27001. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the certification process. So certifying for ISO 27001, meaning that this company has implemented an information security management system based on the standard ISO 27002. Oh, by the way, from this point onwards, if I mention only ISO 27002, 2001, or whatever, I actually refer to ISO/IEC 27002. I just sometimes, maybe perhaps too long to mention, so I'll just say ISO 27002. But I do actually mean ISO/IEC 27002. Okay, just in case you wonder, where I dropped that reference to IEC. All right. So the ISO 27001 defines what organization must implement in order to have an ISMS, which is the Information Security Management System, that meets the requirement for ISO 27001. All right. Okay. To broadly generalize, ISO 27002 and a number of the other standards in the 27000 family, which in a second I'll show you, can be considered to be supporting document to ISO 27001, giving guidance and advice on the implementation. There are not a whole lot, but it's gradually getting more. There are organizations in Canada that are moving towards getting themselves certified for ISO 27001. It is not a big trend yet, but there are sufficient requirements there that they actually hire people to help them implement ISO 27001. Okay, I was responded to a project, and actually the project program manager was giving me a call and asked me to join them to help them to do the 27001. I was almost there. This is a government Ontario government project, but I can't leave my current project, so I can't. This is maybe 2 years ago. So they are looking for people that will guide that company along, making sure that their implementations of 27002 are all check. There is a process by ISO that you will have to provide the artifacts, the evidence, in order to qualify for 27001 certification, and then there is people that do the audit and so on. Okay, so it is a real deal, and I think as Canada getting more and more away from doing business just with the U.S., especially with Europe, then more countries, more companies in Europe will actually look at the ISO 27001 certification as something that they should look for. It might not be a requirement yet, I mean in terms of doing business or responding to an RFP or something like that, but it's moving that direction. Okay. Okay, moving along, I promised to show you what are the other family of standards for 27000, and if you look at these two slides, there's quite a lot. So within 27000 series, these are all information securities. So 1001 is actually the certification, 2002 is the actual standard for certifying for 1001, but apart from that, there are so many of them. Implementing the guidance, monitoring, measurement, analyze, and evaluation, risk management, audit, auditing, and control, and so on. So there's a lot of stuff. I wanted to show you like something like public cloud, 27018. It's code of practice for information or personally identifiable information in public cloud acting as a PII processor. Okay, so these are very specific if you deal with a lot of personal information. And especially I think this one is good for GDPR. This GDPR, you may or may not know, is the new privacy law in the EU, European Union. Okay, and also this one may interest you, guideline for cybersecurity. So 27032 is on cybersecurity. So there are many other standards that are very specific to either a particular technology like cybersecurity or a particular industry. Okay. So there are a lot of reference material that you can use. These are some of the other ones that I can think of, and I throw it in. I mentioned about ISO 9000 for quality assurance, and there's an environmental ISO standard for 14,000 actually. You may or may not be understanding it. So So let's get started with ISO 27001 or 2. I mean, they're kind of interchangeably used. So what this talked about, it's all about information. Okay, so the ISO standard on information security practice covers information, period. So what kind of information? All kind of information. We're probably, looking at electronic files like software files and data files, probably just data to begin with, okay? So no doubt with that. But we're talking about software file as well. So if you develop software, the development program, the code, are information that can be protected as well using ISO 27001 and 2. All right, so software file, data file, paper documents, any printed materials, handwritten notes, and photographs. These are all printed materials can also be applicable under the security practice. So your policies, procedures, standards can also cover paper documents, including recordings, video recordings, audio recordings, communication, including email, fax, video, instant messaging, physical messages, and conversation as well. Okay, so phone conversations, face-to-face conversations, so everything that are considered as information, the ISO standard is applicable. So when you develop policy, procedures, and implementation, these are all under considerations. So generally, there are 12 topics in ISO 27002. Okay, and these are the 12 subjects: risk assessment, security policies, organizing information security, asset management, human resources security, physical security, obviously, communication and operational management, access control, a big one, information security, information system acquisition, development, and maintenance. Oftentimes people purchase system. Information security instance management, okay, business continuity management, another big subjects, and compliance, okay. So today we will talk about each of these 12 subjects a little bit more, not deep dive, but the remaining of the course we will pick most of these subjects, not all of them, and then we'll talk about them because this information security management certificate has 3 courses. This is the first course, and then we had a course that talked about cybersecurity. We also have a course that talked about governance, risk, and compliance, which will cover some of these subjects like compliance and so on. Okay, so within the whole 3 courses, we'll cover all of these subjects for sure. Okay, but for this course, we will still try to cover 6-7 subjects of these, which I find very fundamental because this is the fundamental course. Okay, so let's get started.